Nigeria's Federal Ministry of Works and Housing has started the procurement process to concession highways across the nation under its Highway Management and Development Initiative, HMDI. It stated that the initiative seeks to leverage private sector investment to improve facilities and operations on selected 12 highways, maximizing the route's revenue-generating potential, and ensure international best practices in developing and managing these nation's highways. So can this work? Public policy analyst Ugo Aliogo joins us to discuss this further. Ugo, you're very welcome. Good morning to you.
Thank you. Good morning.
So, how exactly is the government planning on executing these concessions? How's this all going to work?
In fact, let me start. When I saw it this morning online, I just shouted, "Praise the Lord!" I mean, we'll have.
So optimism. You're optimistic.
Yes, I'm optimistic.
Okay, why?
You know. Now, why I'm optimistic is that it's bringing in the private companies and then private sector partners who have proven track record, financially and technical competence to drive this initiative. And then under the Highway Development Management Initiative, we'll have two phases, two categories.
Okay.
Then we'll have the value-added concession, and then we'll have the unbundled asset approval. So under the first one, the value-added concession, what it says is that there's going to concession the road, economically viable route to private sector partners or private companies that have a proven track record, especially financially and technically. So they will concession those roads, and then what they will concession for them is the road pavements. The road pavements and then the entire right of way. So that's for the value-added concession.
I think we have a screenshot of that. There it is. That's it. That's what you're talking about, right?
Yes,
the value-added concession.
Yes.
Okay, so that's part of what. Okay, so keep going.
So then the second phase has to do with the unbundled asset approval. Under the unbundled asset approval, now that has to do with concessioning of the road to private partners. Now they will concession the road to private partners. They will now receive permits and approval to manage revenue-generating assets on federal highway. So, for instance, it could be a toll gate. It could be a way bridge.
That's my next question.
Yes,
keep going.
I know. So it could be a way bridge. It could be a toll gate. Then it could be rest shops. Rest shop could be hotels, guest inn, like what you have in Ore. When you're traveling to Bini or you're traveling to Asaba. So you say, let's stop at Ore. So when you get to Ore, we'll have rest shops, you know, where you can buy things and can eat. But the one they are doing in Ore is small businesses that are doing it. It's not organized. So we need to bring in private partners who have proven track record, mark my word, proven track record in this space to manage it. And then what it now says, what the policy now says is that the routes that have been given out under the unbundled asset approval will not be given out under the value-added concession. So the routes are different. So for the value-added concession, they will do the first 12 routes for the first 6 months. So it's in 2 phases. So those are the key recommendations under this policy.
Great stuff.
Yeah.
I'm glad you already touched on the revenue generation aspect, right?
Yeah, the revenue generation aspect.
So Ugo, it's tolls now. What else is it? But there's been,
on their site, they listed way bridges, then they listed rest shops, and then they listed other things.
Fine, but
so those are revenue-generating assets that the private companies can build. So when they build, they maintain, they operate.
Your rest shops are going to be dependent on travel volumes going.
Yes, travel volumes, right. and then on the flip side, that will drive tourism also on the flip side.
Okay, but you need tourist attractions in order to drive that now. So of course, which is fair.
Yes, which is fair.
But my own, see, okay, are you receptive to more tolls on those 12 highways? And if this was to expand to more highways, more tolls across them set up to make sure that they pay back the investment that's been made?
For tolls, I have a problem with tolls.
You have a problem with tolls?
Yes, I have a problem with tolls in Nigeria. Now, my problem with tolls is the way. For instance, you live on the Lekki axis.
Yes.
And then if you pass the Lekki axis 100 times in a day, you are going to pay.
Right, every time you go through.
Every time you go through, you're going to pay.
There's an alternative route.
Yeah, there's an alternative route.
Right.
So, for instance, I'm taking my child to school. I live in Lekki. I'm taking my child to school. Right. And then we go to school, and then the boy says, Daddy, I forgot my book, and then I'm doing assignment. And then I go back, I pay. It's not, now that's not how it's operated internationally. Although they are trying to say that, look, every procedure in driving this initiative is going to go through the infrastructure credit initiative. There's an infrastructure scheme also that is going to go through. So, but I think we need to review it. So if vehicles are plying on that route, how many times would they pay tolls?
It's supposed to be every time you go through the toll. If you're using the toll and you're saving time as opposed to the alternative route, you pay the money. So my own thing is that how, if as part of this, you see, I knew this was going to be a challenge when we're going to discuss this thing, but if for it to be practically implemented so that this concession process flows through and the infrastructure pays itself back, those tolls have to be operable, and everybody that goes through them has to pay the money.
Yes. No, I'm not saying that people should not pay the money, but I'm saying that the extent so which the tolls are collected.
Yes.
So if you pass that route 5 times in a day, you pay tolls 5 times in a day. It doesn't make sense.
So what are you saying? Are you saying that you should only pay 2 or 3 times if you pass 5 times in a day? Or what are you saying? You shouldn't pay every time?
No, what I'm saying is we should look at how it's done internationally.
How is it internationally? You pay every time you pass through. I mean, that's how it's. See, look. If you walk into a venue at a sporting event, it doesn't matter. Well, that is for each number of sporting events you go in. You pay every time you go in.
What I'm saying, if a particular vehicle, you see a particular applying the route like 5 times in a day.
Okay, so you should get some kind of discounts.
Yeah, you should get some kind of discount. So it could be that they could pay like twice a day or 3 times a day.
Okay.
Yeah, not that if the car applies that route maybe 10 times in a day.
And then they pay 10 times.
I mean that makes it exploitative in a way.
You think so?
Yeah, that makes it exploitative in a way. So we should define the standard, set the standard.
Right.
You know, this is an economy.
I get what you're saying. So if you live in Lekki and you apply the Lekki route 8-10 times, you shouldn't pay 8 times. But if you live in Lekki and you're going to the airport and flying out, that one time where you use the toll heading to the airport, you should pay.
Yeah, you should pay.
I get what you're saying.
You should
get what you're saying.
Yeah, so there should be a limit. There should be a limit to it.
What if the extra... You see, this is the conversation I hope they're having when they're putting these concessions together as to how much. I think that every time somebody passes, they should pay. If there's any extra funding that beats budgets or targets, that should be applied towards more infrastructure. Because our infrastructure deficit is huge. Yeah, so all this extra money, if you have a toll on Lekki, then using this example, that extra fund should now go to another infrastructure capital
obviously, when the private sector handles a project, it's for maintenance, for building and repair of the infrastructure. You know, on a long-term basis.
Right.
On a long-term basis.
Right.
And then what he now says is that it will become more effective in driving our infrastructure, our road infrastructure. But our road infrastructure is actually key to driving a lot of services, to driving a lot of things in terms of transportation, in terms of goods, in terms of driving our economy. So having the private sector, they are bringing in partners who have proven track record.
Right.
But again, we should also consider how we maybe collect these tools.
Yes.
You know, we should consider how we collect these tools and then fix it in such a way that it will not be so much burden on the ordinary Nigerian.
Applying the tools.
Applying the tools.
You see, and this is why we have you on the show. It is going to be very interesting to see how this plays out and the conversations that people are going to have, people who live where these tolls are going to be and so on and so forth. What about other states? We have a minute or so to go. This is Lagos, What about the other regions that are not as developed as Lagos State? How can this plan, essentially replicate itself where you don't have as many people going, traveling in other states compared to the commercial capital of Nigeria? And
now that's where the job issue comes in, job and investments. So they said it's going to generate 200,000 indirect jobs and 50,000 direct jobs. Okay. And then we now talked about red shop. So if you go to Ore, there are businesses, small-scale businesses that are already striving in Ore because of the volume of traffic that goes through that route on a daily basis.
How's the road network there? Because road networks are going to impact travel volumes, right? If you got a good, healthy road network, then more people will travel through that route.
Yeah, more people will travel through that route.
Yeah.
So for those other smaller states that do not have maybe a large volume of people traveling, then that's where you now talk about the rest shops, you now talk about revenue-generating investment. So those private sector partners will now ask themselves, they will sit down, how do we develop this?
Right.
What are the revenue-generating assets that can drive investments? That if we locate it here, it's going to drive investment, it's going to drive revenue, because it's key. So business is territorial. So for each territory, you decide what business initiative that you can develop in such territory that can drive growth, that can drive investment, and get revenue, which is the ultimate goal.
Public policy analyst Ugo Aleogo, always very interesting when you're on. I love these discussions.